You know, there was a time years ago when Republicans and Democrats, they got along pretty well. You didn't have all this divisiveness, this hatred, this stuff that's going on now. It's terrible. And you know what? I blame leadership for that. Starts at the top, trickles down to everybody, and it causes this severe divisiveness that's no good for the country.
I walk in redemption.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. All is very good, very blessed on this end. As always, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to my God for that. And before we get started, just want to thank everyone. I don't know if it's because I've been on a few shows lately, Jesse Waters, Newsmax, a couple of others, Piers Morgan. We've had a run on Mafia Democracy. We've been selling them like crazy. And it's really gratifying for that. Obviously, you know, it's good when you sell your products. But a lot of people are responding very positively to the information and the message of the book. And people, it's a book that's necessary in this day and age. I want you to know what's going on with this government. There's no fluff in this. It's factual. Mafia Democracy. I know you're going to be informed and educated. How do I know that? So many comments. Thousands of comments have been so positive about the information in the book and enlighten people on what's really going on in our government. So thank you all for purchasing the book and for such great comments. I really appreciate it very much. Franzese Wine, yes, everything is going great. We have a couple hundred new associates out there that have joined the team, and I think we're way far ahead of where we should be after 2 years in business. Very excited about that. So thank you all. Many people have expressed their enjoyment in drinking the wine, especially this past Christmas. We had some good deals out there, but a lot going on. So thank you very much for that. I have an interesting topic today. Bill Maher, controversial guy, big star on HBO, has been around a long time. You know, it brought me back to a time, I think about 15 years ago when I was living in West LA. Happened to be in a movie theater in Westwood, and I saw Bill there. He was in the theater. I didn't like him that much back then, mainly because of his views on religion. He's very anti-Christian, anti-Catholicism. I believe he's an atheist. And so I didn't like the way he kind of knocked Christians and so on and so forth back then. And but in the last couple of years, I would have to say, I find myself agreeing very much with Bill and the things that he has to say. And he said something very interesting. He's a Democrat, possibly liberal, but he said, you know, I haven't changed my ideology. I'm the same person with the same views that have been within my party for a long time now. He said, my party has changed. And they've went so far to the left. And he's calling them out, you know, and I really appreciate that about him. Number one, he's very honest. He's obviously very intelligent. He calls it like he sees it. And I love to hear that. I love guys like him, like Joe Rogan, you know, the guys out there that have major podcasts that are just really calling it like they see it. My friend, Patrick Bet-David. You know, this is very satisfying to see that, regardless of your party affiliation, of your religion, your faith, whatever. They call it as they see it. They're not afraid to say things to their people, you know, allegedly of their own party or in their own party. And I think that's, we need that. It's refreshing and we need that. And like I said, I find myself agreeing with a lot that Bill Maher has to say. You know, as far as the religion is concerned, I would love to have an opportunity to sit down with Bill. You know, as a Christian, we're not supposed to impose our faith on anyone. We're not supposed to try to turn anybody into a Christian. We can't do that. But we are supposed to share what God has done in our life and what we know to be true based upon the evidence. And, you know, I believe maybe Bill is misinformed about certain things. I'd love the opportunity to sit and have a conversation with him. He can debate it. He can do whatever. And, you know, we don't knock people that are not of our faith. We're not supposed to do that. And that's not the right way to talk to people about it. So, you know, who knows? Maybe one day, you know, if we travel in the same circles, we'll have the opportunity to do that. I saw he interviewed my good friend, Patrick Bet-David. I thought it was a great interview. I think Patrick, you know, did a great job with him. Let's put it that way. But I'm going to talk about a monologue that he did at the end of one of his shows, and that was written in an article. And it's great, and I happen to agree with just about everything he said in this, you know, and I love when I find myself agreeing with a liberal or a Democrat or whatever. And you know, what this shows you also, I have a conservative ideology. I don't consider myself a Republican because there's a lot of things that the Republicans do that I just don't like. I don't like Sometimes I don't think they have a backbone. They don't handle things right. I don't agree with everybody in the party. I like to consider myself an independent because I will vote for the person that I think is going to do the best job for America and for its people. So I consider myself an independent with conservative values and conservative ideology. But it's great when I can agree with somebody that allegedly has a different ideology, and that's Bill Maher. You know, there was a time years ago when Republicans and Democrats, they got along pretty well. You didn't have all this divisiveness, this hatred, this stuff that's going on now. It's terrible. And you know what? I blame leadership for that. Starts at the top, trickles down to everybody, and it causes this severe divisiveness that's no good for the country. And by the way, I hold Trump responsible for that. I hold the Democrats responsible for that. They just don't act the right way, and they're not a good example for the people when it comes to unification, unity. They're very divisive, and I don't like that. But, you know, there was a time, you know, other than during the Civil War, when obviously there was a tremendous divide between Republicans and Democrats. Let me remind you, the Republicans were against slavery and the Democrats wanted slavery, but let's not get into that whole debate. But during the 50s, 60s, 70s, when I was growing up, Democrat, Republican, you had some differences in your opinion, but there wasn't this harsh divisiveness that we have now. So I find it very refreshing that I can read an article about Bill Maher and the things that he said and agree with just about everything. So let me get into it. This was a monologue at at the end of one of his shows, which, by the way, are great. He does a great job. You got to admit it. Bill Maher rips America, bashing liberal celebrities who vowed to flee the country under Trump, but they're still here. I love that. Miley Cyrus and George Lopez were among several Hollywood liberals called out by the HBO host. Let me read the article. Real-time host Bill Maher called out fellow Hollywood liberals for their previous vow to leave the country under President Trump, but they're still here. And isn't that wonderful? Oh, do you remember that? I'm leaving the country. If Trump becomes president, I'm out of here. I'm going somewhere else. Not one of them left. They're all still here. What does that tell you? A little bit of hypocrisy there, right? Okay. In his closing monologue on Friday, a couple of weeks back, Maher bashed Americans who complain about living in the U.S., beginning with politicians like a progressive state representative candidate in New Hampshire who posted on social media saying, quote, "I need to get the F out of this country," and former President Trump who said, quote, he could be relaxing in the south of France instead of running for president. Well, why don't you do that? Get the F out of the country if you feel you should. And Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, go and relax in the south of France. We know you can do it. Why even say that? Doesn't even make sense to say that because you're not doing either. You're here for a reason, and you haven't left for a reason. Quote, again, this is Bill, "I'm confused by this political message. Vote for me because I hate it here," Maher quipped. Now, does America have big problems? Yes, sure we do. I've often cited the America Sucks list. That's his list, America Sucks. Things like, listen to this, being 54th in the world in infant mortality behind Cuba. I didn't know that. 54th in the world behind infant mortality. I wonder if any of that has to do with abortion. I don't know if that's within the statistic. I do know that I think 63 million babies have been aborted since the inception of Roe versus Wade. I don't know if that's part of this statistic. It may not be, but still, 54th in the world in infant mortality behind Cuba. Horrible stat. 19th in literacy behind Russia. Why should that be? 19th in literacy? We should have the best educational system in the world, but we don't. We're 19th behind Russia. I'm sure that's even further behind China. We're 72nd in female representation in government behind Iraq. These stats are just amazing to me. A lot of work to do here. Yeah, you know what? I don't like that stat at all. I think women are very capable in many walks of life. I'd like to see more women in government, quite honestly. I'd like to see more women in corporate America. I'd like to see more women in charge of things that are important, because I think in many cases they do a better job. I really mean that. I love some of the women, in the news media. I think they report pretty well. Some of them obviously don't care for, but a lot of them I think do a great job, and I think we need to see more of that. And is it possible for a country to lose itself so much that leaving it is justified? Bill says, yes, but we're not there yet. I love what he just said. Yes, a country can lose itself. I think we're heading in that direction, but we're not there yet. So you don't pick up and run. You try to fix it. We need people who will stay and fix it. You're right, Bill. Agree 100%. Maybe the problem isn't that America isn't worth defending. Maybe the problem is that lots of people today are entitled whiners who have no perspective and no idea how good they have it, Maher continued, sparking cheers from his audience. Love what he said here. Don't whine about it. This is the greatest country in the world. No doubt, bar none. I've been all over the world. Yeah, there are great places to visit. I love Italy. I love the United Kingdom. I love just about every place that I've visited. But there's no place like America. We are the greatest country in the world. So stop whining about it. Stop bashing it. You can bash the reasons that it's headed in the wrong direction. You could bash the people, okay, that you feel are not doing the right thing and causing the demise of certain principles we have in this country. But don't whine and say, oh, it's a horrible country. And don't be anti-American. That's wrong. Wrong. Bill, I agree with you 1,000%. The HBO host shared the 59% of liberals who said in a poll they considered leaving America for good, telling them, quote, you want so badly for every immigrant to come to this country and experience the good life, but somehow it's so terrible you want to leave. Imagine that. 59% of people, liberal people, said they want to leave the country, but yet they want all the immigrants to come in. Why? If this is such a terrible country, why are you opening the borders and letting them come in? And one thing, Bill, I have to say, I have to disagree with you on. He said that he supports President Biden. I don't get that. Make believe Trump doesn't even exist. He never existed. We never even heard his name, period. I don't know how anybody can be in Biden's corner. The destruction that he's caused in this country. I mean, unless you're an illegal immigrant or a criminal, I would see them voting for Biden in a minute. I just don't understand it. The guy, everything he touches turns bad. He is bad for America. He's not qualified any longer to lead this country. He's bordering on dementia. We can see it. This guy needs to be put out of office. Bill, come on, man. Anybody but Biden. Just about anybody but Biden. I really mean that. He also bashed the conservative movement in Texas pushing for a secession, joking, quote, they have two bumper stickers in that state. One, America, love it or leave it. And two, we're leaving it. I agree. Texas shouldn't be seceding from the United States. They should be trying to fix it. And they are, I think. They're doing what they have to do at the border. I think Texas is a good state, but don't try to leave America. That's ridiculous. You try to fix it. You're a big state, a lot of people, heavy population. Do your best to have a positive influence and put this country back in the right direction. I agree with you, Bill. We continue. He then listed liberal celebrities like, let me give you this list, and these are only a few. Lena Dunham, gosh, Cher, Snoop Dogg, really surprised at that. Bryan Cranston, loved that series that he was in. Susan Sarandon, Al Sharpton. You want to leave, Al? Really? This country made you who you are, okay? All your race bashing, you couldn't have done that anywhere else in the world, Al Sharpton. I know you personally, and you want to get up and leave? Are you kidding me? Stop, okay? Whoopi Goldberg, same thing. Gets on The View, knocks everything that's conservative, so, biggest critic that there is. You want to leave? You wouldn't be anywhere near where you are if it wasn't for the freedoms that you have in America. Come on. Chelsea Handler, another one. Barbara Streisand, I just don't get that. Among others who swear they'll go if a Republican is elected, and no one ever does. Not one of you people have left, so what are you whining about? Why don't you use your influence to try to straighten the country out instead of whining and saying you're going to leave? You know you're not going to leave because you have it too good here. You all have it good. You're among the elite. This country has done wonders for you. Yes, you've worked hard, but that's what this country is all about. Work hard and you get repaid by living in the best, most freest country in the entire world. Stop whining and stop nonsense and stop being a hypocrite. Because that's what this is. Miley Cyrus once said, quote, I'm moving if Trump is my president. I don't say things I don't mean. Really, Miley? You're still here, right? Come on. Here she is looking miserable having to endure America at the Grammys last Sunday. I guess she flew back from Tajikistan, Maher said. That's a joke. In other words, you're miserable at the Grammys. Look what this country has done for you. You're so popular. Why? Because you live in America. In 2016, Eddie Griffin, who I happen to love, said, quote, if Trump wins, I'm moving to Africa. Apparently very slowly, because in Trump's 4 years, he only got as far as Van Nuys. Okay. All these people, they're leaving. Oh, terrible things going to happen. Not one of them left. Why? Because they know they got it better here than anywhere else. George Lopez once said that if Trump won, he won't have to worry about immigration. We'll all go back. George Lopez is still here. And it doesn't look like the migrant traffic is going back either. No, it's worse than ever. More people are wanting to come here than ever before. Thanks to Joe Biden, he's letting them all in. And by the way, you know what I heard today? I think a few years back, 450 men of military age from China entered this country. But in the last 3 years, 20,000 men from China of military age illegally have entered this country. How does that make you feel? China's not our friend. They're not our friend. Trust me, okay? The New Republic just ran a story about the vulnerable minorities who want to flee America, including the author, a gay man trapped in the dystopian, homophobic hellscape that is New York City. That's what he calls it, a dystopian, homophobic hellscape that is New York City. Really? I wonder if he knows that there are 66 countries, this is Bill talking, where just being gay is a crime, Maher continued. Do you understand that? In 66 countries around the world, if you're gay, it's criminal. You're charged with a crime. And worse, listen to this. Cute story in the news last month. Burundi's president called on his citizens to stone gay people, and not in a good way. Wow, suddenly the don't say gay law doesn't sound all that bad. And in Uganda, they don't just give you a ticket for parking in the rear, gay, you know what that means. You can get the death penalty for it. In Uganda, if you're gay, you can face the death penalty. But America's a tough place, right? Bad place. You're going to leave. Everybody's leaving if a Republican gets into office. I don't see any Republicans asking for the death penalty. I don't see any Republicans, wanting to make it criminal to become gay. I don't think so, to be gay, I should say. In China, they have the death penalty for almost 50 crimes, and in 13 countries, atheism is punishable by death, and 61 impose restrictions on women's clothing, so bring a scarf. Do you understand that? In 61 countries, women, have to have certain guidelines on the clothing that they wear. Can't show their shoulders, they can't show, below their thighs, but America's a bad place. Everybody's going to leave. That's what they say. And in China, you can die for certain things that are allowed here in the United States. We have a bad country. Maher continued with his list of countries with lack of individual liberties. Quote, according to Amnesty International, paramilitary groups killed the government's critics in Argentina. If you oppose the government in Argentina, you get killed by the military. America's a bad place. Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, and arbitrary detentions are widespread in Cuba, Ecuador, El Salvador, Nicaragua. Widespread detentions in all of these countries. This is Bill Maher speaking. Liberal, right? But he's got sanity, and he tells it like it is. He's calling out his own progressive party of the Democratic Party. If you're wondering how that's just like no cash bail, it's not. In Russia, just referring to the war in Ukraine as a war can get you 15 years in the fabulous prisons made famous by some of the world's most famous novels. You're not allowed to say that the war in Ukraine is a war. In Russia, you can go to jail for 15 years. Freedom of speech? Do we have that here in this country? Yeah, other than, people that are trying to stop that. You know how dangerous it is when we try to put a lid on freedom of speech? That's what happens in communist countries. You listening to that? You can't even talk about the war being a war in Ukraine and Russia. You can go to jail for 15 years. So government, stop trying to silence us, Let us talk. We have the right, freedom of speech. It's a big right that we have. Don't take it away. Don't try, because we're not going to let you do it. You think America's evil because we didn't nominate Margot Robbie for an Oscar? Just wait till you get thrown out the window of your very own dream house. That's funny. And that's, Barbie. People were upset that she didn't get nominated for Barbie, one of the worst movies. You want to demean men? Go see that movie. I took my 12-year-old granddaughter. I was embarrassed. That's not a movie. Barbie is no longer for kids. Barbie is now to demean men. That's the main purpose. He also mentioned how thieves have their hands cut off in countries like Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, and Sudan, joking, if you're coming from San Francisco, do your shoplifting at home, and how protesters are shot in many countries. Well, you know what? We don't want people to get their hands cut off, but can you be a little bit more drastic, like just lock up the people that are doing the bad stuff here and doing the shoplifting and knocking people down in the street and home invasions? Could you at least put them in prison? They're criminals. They're doing the wrong thing. You don't have to cut off their hands, okay? But at least try to enforce the laws. We should do that. It almost seems like the world is full of suffering, intolerance, and oppression on a scale we can't even imagine. But that can't be true, because if it was, we'd be protesting it. It must only happen in Israel, Maher quipped. Okay, funny, Bill. The host continued, quote, "And for your exile, if you do wind up in some comparatively luxurious place like Canada or Japan or the UK, not that they want you, they don't, at best you'll be trading a bunch of stuff you hate about this country for a bunch of stuff you'll soon hate about your new country. It took me only 4 days in Amsterdam to learn that while I admire Amsterdam, I don't want to live there. The buildings are cramped and shaped like needles. The food is awful. The TV is in a different language. It's wet and it's cold. The people are polite but very cold. And they do a bunch of weird S." The explanation for, according to my friend, was, "Just remember, they're always high in Amsterdam." I don't know any of this. I've never been to Amsterdam, but Bill, I'm going to take your word for it. But you know what he's saying? Come on, stop complaining about America and do something about it. People, I have some of you here on my YouTube platform. Michael, stay out of politics. It's not in your lane. I hear that all the time. You know what, people? These are issues. These are issues, and it's good when we call people out that are trying to demean this country that we love. I do it on my platform. I write books about it. I talk to people. I'm in, speaking engagements, and I try to do my part to alert people. Okay, I don't want to run from America. I don't want to hide. I don't want to say there's a better place. I want to make this a better place, okay, for my 7 children, my 7 grandchildren, and for the people that, that look up to me. This is what we should do. We don't run and hide. So for those of you that have a platform, and your platform might be just to vote and vote the right people in, this is what we need to do. Don't listen to the celebrities. This is why nobody pays attention to them, because they talk out of their rear ends and they don't do anything. They just try to be relevant. They try to make it, the ones that we're calling out, not all of them, of course, okay? But don't pay attention to any of that stuff, because they're not following through. They know they've got it better here than any other country in the world. So that's it, Bill. I happen to agree with you. I'd love to meet you one day, just have a conversation. But I applaud you for speaking the truth, for being direct, for not hiding behind anything, for not trying to pander to your party or to anybody else. You're your own man, and I appreciate that very much. That's it for today. How do I leave you? Very same way, never going to change. Bill, I hope you appreciate this. Be safe, because we need to be safe, okay? Be healthy. Do the best you can. May God bless, Bill, sorry, but God bless each and every one of you, including you, Bill Maher. You need him. You don't realize it, but you do. And yes, see you next time. Take care.